Alright, buckle up because you're about to hear some NFL buzz that'll get your blood pumping. You ready to see a veteran who looked reborn in 2024 get the boot like he was nobody? What if I told you a 7th round nobody is making that veteran sweat in the preseason? Now hold on to your hats. A big name AFC player might be heading to Washington and turning their offense into a nightmare for every secondary in the league. This isn't just talk. This is reality knocking on the NFC's door. But hey, would you be willing to ditch a starter for a long shot prospect? Smash that like button and drop a comment because this conversation is about to get fire. Look, there are few things that sting more than a home loss, but watching a guy who finally clicked in the system get pushed out because of draft pedigree, that's brutal. And that's exactly what could happen with Noah Igbinoghene. This dude came in as an afterthought, played more snaps in 2024 than in his previous 4 NFL seasons combined, was solid in slot coverage, and yet he's on the chopping block. Why? Because Trey Amos arrived, a 2nd round pick out of Ole Miss, with the full stamp of approval from Dan Quinn. Amos is physical, plays press man, and locks down his side of the field. The coaching staff's plan? Put him on one side, Marshawn Lattimore on the other, and move Sane Ristel to the slot, where he was a star at Michigan. And who's left out in the cold? Exactly, Noah. Now, check out this dilemma. Igbinoghene limited quarterbacks to just 5.6 yards per target in the slot. That's elite. That's playoff level production. But since he wasn't a pick by the new staff, he doesn't carry the same weight. In the locker room, it's that messed up NFL policy. Guys who come in with hype always get the benefit of the doubt. And there's more. Noah's contract is cheap, and he still has trade value. A team desperate for a slot corner, think Steelers, Bengals, or even the Vikings, could easily cough up a mid-round pick. And the Commanders' front office, who only had 5 picks in the last draft, is looking to replenish their capital. Swads, truth is, this situation is a ticking time bomb. If Noah balls out in OTAs and training camp, he'll force the team to keep 4 high-level corners. If he falters, it's goodbye. And on this competitive roster, there's no middle ground. You're either essential or you're trade bait. The fan base is split. Part of it sees Noah as a survivor, finally healthy, finally useful. The other part says it's time to move on, to invest in the guys Dan Quinn chose, not the leftovers from the previous mess. So I'm asking you, what's worth more right now? Proven experience or raw talent with a draft pedigree? Because if Noah Igbinoghene walks, some people will be celebrating and others will be throwing their remotes through the TV. But hold on tight, because what's coming next could be the steal of the 2025 draft, and nobody's ready for this. Name Jackery Krosky Merritt. Burn that name into your brain. Because 2 years from now, you might be rocking his jersey and screaming, "Draft steal," from the stands. You know that kind of player nobody expects anything from. But then they show up and change everything. This guy's the ultimate underdog the NFL loves to turn into a legend. A 7th round pick, practically invisible. He played 1 game last season in Arizona. 13 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. Then he vanished, all because of some NCAA eligibility mess. But at the Shrine Bowl, this kid came back like he was on a mission. 97 yards, 2 touchdowns, offensive MVP on just 11 carries. Explosion, vision, balance, aggression. You know that running style you can feel through the screen. That's him. Now picture him joining a backfield with Eckler and Brian Robinson. 2 guys who've already proven their worth, but, and here's the kicker, are in the final years of their contracts. Translation, Krosky Merritt doesn't need to be a monster right now. He just needs to show he's reliable, that he can handle the grind in practice, learn the playbook, and isn't afraid of contact. Because if he does that, he enters 2026 as the favorite to take over the backfield. And if that happens, it flips the entire draft strategy for the team. Because instead of spending big on running backs every couple of years, you're developing talent in-house, cheap and hungry. But let's be real, the chance of this going wrong is huge. The guy has minimal history, almost no professional level tape, 0 experience against NFL defenses. And worse, he needs reps on the field to develop, but he'll be splitting snaps with 2 hungry veterans who are also playing for new contracts. So the stage is set. Either he shatters expectations or he's out of the league in 2 years. The fans, they're already campaigning on social media. Shrine Bowl highlights are on repeat on Twitter. There are comparisons to Alfred Morris, to Arian Foster. It's all exciting, but are we getting ahead of ourselves? Or are we really looking at a hidden gem? On one hand, there's hope. On the other, the cold reality of the NFL. 7th rounders are disposable. So tell me, would you put this guy on the final roster? Or is he just another training camp legend who disappears when the season starts? And hold on tight, because the next bombshell involves a massive AFC wide receiver, and it could change the game in Washington for good. Just imagine Jaden Daniels in the shotgun, Eckler to his left, McLaurin lined up wide. And on the other side, who shows up? Nico Collins. That's the buzz swirling behind the scenes. Collins' name, who's been one of the Texans' only consistent offensive weapons for the past 2 years, is popping up in trade rumors. And guess which team is keeping a close eye? You got it, our Commanders. And it's not just because of the need at the position. This is a strategic move. Washington's passing attack improved in 2024, yes, but it still lacks depth and a consistent vertical threat. Opposite McLaurin, adding Collins solves that instantly. We're talking about a 6'4" receiver, strong at the catch point, with crisp roots and reliable hands. He'd be the perfect safety valve for Jaden Daniels, who improved significantly at the end of last season, but still needs that receiver who separates good offenses from unstoppable ones. Now check out the connection. Collins played for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. And even though Dan Quinn is the head coach, Harbaugh and his staff still have significant influence in league circles. That matters. Players trust who they know. On the Texans, they have Jalen Noe, Jaden Higgins, Tank Dell, and a receiving chorus that's revamped, younger, and most importantly, cheaper. Nico Collins is entering the final year of his contract and is due for a big payday. They're not going to pay it. Washington, on the other hand, can perfectly absorb that cap hit. And that's where the question comes in. Is it worth trading a 2nd-round pick for a receiver who could walk away for nothing next year? This is where the sparks fly in the discussion. If you want to win now, you bring in Collins. No hesitation. Jaden Daniels needs to be comfortable. He needs to know that if McLaurin is covered, there's another monster ready to make a play. Now, if you think this year is still about rebuilding, maybe you prefer to wait and see how the 2026 draft shakes out. But hey, how many teams in the league have 2 true WR1s right now? Bengals, Eagles, Dolphins. That's about it. Do you want to join that group or keep waiting for potential to turn into production? This potential trade impacts the locker room, the game plan, and the real chances of making the playoffs. Seriously, McLaurin and Collins together would be a nightmare for any NFC secondary. But is it worth the price? Sound off in the comments. Would you bet big on this trade or pass and invest in the next generation? Today we talked about a controversial cut, a prospect who could become a starter, and a player who, if he arrives, elevates this team's offense to a whole new level. And I'm telling you, this Commanders roster is already more promising than any since 2016. The defense has an identity, the offense has talent, and the front office is thinking big. But now I want to know, would you risk it all for an immediate impact, or do you prefer to keep building step by step? Comment below. Smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any updates from Commanders Nation.